Hey there everyone, AJ back for the My Acoustic channel, your source of detailed Dungeons & Dragons lore. Following on from the video on Vecna, it's time to explore the creepy and mysterious monsters called Nothics. Nothics are best described as former delvers and researchers, most often wizards whose avarice for secret knowledge led to their being cursed by the undead god lich, Vecna. The transformation is so hideous, it robs the victim of memory and ruins their body, but leaves them with an insatiable desire for information. Their body is warped and mutated, infused with psionic power, the head now dominated by a single bloated eye. Nothics retain no awareness of their former selves, well, not much, skulking amid the shadows and haunting places rich in magical knowledge, drawn by memories and impulses they can't quite understand. They learn Undercommon to better deal with people who populate the deep places of the world, but they are solitary beings by choice. They are cursed by an evil god after all, so most other creatures would willingly avoid them anyway. However, Nothics have proficiency in stealth, perception, arcana and insight, along with their telepathic ability, the weird insight power and its impressive 120-foot true sight. They will tend to seek out particularly one-sided social interactions. First they lurk out of sight, watching, assessing, judging the creatures it encounters, deciding if they will simply leave or if the targets are something worthy of being its prey. If the player characters can speak Undercommon, it might speak with them vocally. Their voices are disturbingly at odds with their monstrous appearance, otherwise they communicate telepathically. The Nothic is corrupted and it's a tormented creature, driven by unquenchable desires. Much like many undead beings, it has little control over its emotional state and tends to be compelled by it. Like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, it may have a fractured mind, creating two personalities, sometimes at odds with each other, but both working towards its survival. It will be torn between the desire to stay hidden and the desire to learn whatever the characters know. If the Nothic is the only intelligent creature in the area, it will most certainly stalk after the characters, inexorably drawn to their conversation, surface thoughts, and memories. If it decides to interact with them, it will typically wait for the characters to approach a spot it has already selected, some place it can escape if need be. Once the victims approach within 30 feet, it will start using its weird insight on them, learning secret facts about each one, which it can then extrapolate from their backgrounds and characteristics. If the Nothic does communicate telepathically, it will share its disturbing observations telepathically. Nothics can't help but do this. Some broken and cursed part of their mutated brain floods them with bitter, spiteful, enraged, and vicious hatred of the minds they delve into. They may have been admonishing themselves for half an hour before the player characters even encounter it to not say anything mean, to be good, to be a friend, to keep their secrets. But as soon as it soaks up the experiences, the deep memories inside their minds, it lashes out, hating itself for doing so, irrationally blaming the player characters for making it feel such revulsion, forcing it to say the most cutting, damaging and damning things it can, out of some nihilistic compulsion to show them the truth about themselves. This, of course, is where you and your knowledge of the player character's backgrounds come in, and it is an excellent opportunity to reveal recent events and spin them in such a way as to put a sinister motive to whatever part that character took in the events. Did they fumble their attacks by accident? Or did they not care if their companions lived or died? The character's family were killed in an ore crate. Oh! How is it that the character was the only survivor? Was it craven cowardice? Did it sit and do nothing but watch? Why have they not taken revenge on those who murdered their family? Why does the maid prefer to use magical fire in combat? Is it a lack of skill with a blade, or do they actually enjoy watching their power boiling the skin off their screaming victims' flesh? Why does the cleric never heal the sick and needy poor folk in the towns they visit, but reserve the magic only from their god only for craven and faithless murderers, their companions? The shopkeeper did not give you a discount because of your charm and wit, Bard. He was just wanted to get you and your blood-soaked weapons out of his sight of his innocent family. Nobody likes you. You only cause disruption and trouble for others, and your desire for gold, for fame, for magical items. You don't even care if the things you take have a dark and sinister history. You only care about what they can do for you. The Nothic will keep up this very dark and vicious tirade, punctuating each accusation with a horrific glare from its single huge eye. The pupil will expand and a lurid glow gleams from the depths of its eyeball. The iris will twitch and spasm, and various whirls and strands of colour will move independently like they were squirming and agitated worms and insect legs, and the target will feel the withering necrotic energy attempting to twist, corrupt and rot the very flesh from their bones. Although the difficulty class of the Constitution saving throw is only 12, they can do this once per round and it inflicts 3d6 damage. If you wanted to increase the challenge rating of the Nothic, particularly with an increased toughness from its normal arm class of 15 and 45 hit points, give it more agility and more spined and leathery plated appearance. Also, allow it to use its rotting gaze at the start of each character's turn in the round, and have its disturbing dialogue have an actual effect on combat, say with a DC 12 Wisdom saving throw to avoid making actions with disadvantage for the following round, as the characters are disorientated by this tirade of spiteful truths. The Nothic is driven by its irrational rage to physically lash out as well. It leaps and scampers around, scuttling up and reaching out to grab characters with its abnormally large fingers and sharp talons, inflicting slashing damage when it manages to tear at necks, faces and other exposed areas. It looks like a lot like a berserk chimpanzee when it attacks like this, and may actually shriek like one, but most of the time it's almost eerily silent, just breathing raggedly and heavily, its mind busy with telepathic admonitions. Aside from a body horrifically twisted by Vecna's dark power, the Nothic is also contorted by a vague but persistent belief that they can reverse their condition, that if they can find the cure in an obscure and ancient magical text, so they are compelled to seek out magical libraries, the campus of a wizard academy, the laboratory or tower of some arcane scholar. This is just another part of the curse of Vecna. There is no cure for their condition, short of banishing Vecna somehow and then casting a wish spell to restore the Nothic back to its former identity. It's not impossible to reason with a Nothic and engage it in conversation, but it is only really possible to do this by keeping further away than 30 feet from the Nothic at all times, which is tricky because the Nothic will be doing its very best to stay within the 30-foot range of its powers, which of course will drive it into a hate-fueled frenzy after a relatively short period of time, during which it will become increasingly disturbingly erratic and, well, insane. They don't realize that this is a problem, they just constantly do it. It's part of their curse. About the only way to deal with a Nothic that doesn't turn violent is to play off one madness against the other. A Nothic is compelled to find the cure for its condition and will do almost anything to find it. So, if the despicable, loathsome and wretched adventurers offer some new and interesting magical item, a book of lore or some arcane oddity it may not have seen before, it will actually manage to fight off its aggressive compulsion for a while. As soon as it realizes that the item is offered up to it is worthless to it, though, it's not going to take the news very well. Not at all, in fact. Bargaining with a Nothic can be incredibly useful, as they literally seek out secrets, so they know a lot about the area, the hidden places, others that they've encountered, secrets those individuals keep locked away in their memories, as well as the ancient lore that they may remember bits and pieces about from their murky recollection of who they once were. They don't remember what their name was, or who their friends were, or what their status was, or even what their race was, but they do recall many years of study pouring over their attention over hundreds of books of magic, history, and dark sciences. This lure for their secret knowledge stays with them permanently. While the powers of the Nothic potentially make them superb spies and assassins, they are simply too erratic to be much use to evil mortals. However, they can find service under a powerful lich, vampire, or wight, who are inscrutable to the Nothic. Any creature immune to psychic infiltration by the Nothic is potentially an ally to these cursed and tormented individuals, but they must be kept away from mortal minds and must be constantly supervised to ensure the Nothic doesn't go sneaking off in search of its imaginary cure. Although they can be found just about anywhere, there are large numbers of Nothics lurking in the ruins of ancient Netheril below the sands of the Anarok Plains, formerly the Anarok Desert, constantly digging and delving into forgotten remnants of the once majestic floating cities. They can also be found more frequently in the catacombs of Thay, as well as the very old ruins in the old territory which was the ancient empire of Ilmaska. They do wander around a lot though, so you never know, one might be lurking under your bed right now, reading the spell list in your player's handbook. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back for more lore for you very soon.